Welcome to Small Insight, Big Impact, where real life experiences become powerful lessons for us. Today's episode is a real story and one that still gives me chills. In September 2017, during the aftermath of Hurricane Maria, I was the only passenger on a flight from San Juan to Dominica while being deployed on a UN emergency assignment to be part of an interagency mission that would develop a loss and damage plan for the government of Dominica. A silent plane in a devastated region. That mission was filled with a lot of urgency and purpose because of the news, the level of damage that Mother Nature had left in that region. This is what the flight taught me. That experience or the flight and the moment in history taught me a lot of lessons that I want to share with you. When I flew from New York to San Juan, I was at the airport. I noticed that that whole place was tensed. Hurricane Maria had torn through the region. People were, in despair. There was a lot of distraction that had been left. There was fear, uncertainty, and other things. So people were either rushing back home or leaving areas that have been affected by Hurricane Maria. There were a lot of flight cancellations, flights were rerouted, restricted. The airport felt at that time with a lot of passengers, people sleeping on the floor, shelter, stranded, and other things. But as part of the UN emergency response, I arrived at the gate and I was just about to board my flight from San Juan to Dominica. And then the agent looked at me and said, "You are the only passenger today." I'm like, "Oh, really?" So when I walked to the aircraft, there was a bit of a silence. It was very overwhelming. There was no noise, there was no talk, nobody. The rows were empty, the cabin. I was literally alone with the captain co-pilot and then the air hostess. And I was like, oh, okay. It sort of felt as if it was not real. But then I realized it is real that you are alone and you are being deployed to Dominica to support a very responsible task. So then I gathered myself, then noticed or realized the weight of the responsibility that I had as part of my mission to Dominica. And matter of fact, being alone on that flight alone kept me thinking. Throughout the whole flight, when it took off, I was just looking through the window, admiring the skies, looking at the trees, It was a small aircraft, the propeller aircraft, so there was, we didn't sort of rise too much, right? But then you could see the sea, trees, and other stuff. So I could literally see, after crossing the sea, I could literally see the extent of damage that Mother Nature had left in terms of Hurricane Maria. It was clear that Mother Nature, when it intends to create havoc, it does it not with little effort, but with its maximum force. So that sort of was clear to me, and I kept on reflecting. What do I have to do? What do I have to, what role am I going to sort of play, and what difference am I going to make in Dominica? So the whole journey gave me a space to reflect on why we do this work, why the UN respond to emergencies, so how important it is for us, the UN and other agencies, to show up And then sometimes also as UN employees or international development workers, how we choose or why we choose, service over comfort. And also sometimes, leadership or maybe being responsible for a task, it doesn't look glamorous, huh? It comes with moments of quietness, moments of loneliness, and sometimes very invisible. They don't really see, or you don't really see what exactly you are doing. But those moments were just passing through my mind, the small voices and other things. So it was a very heavy moment of reflection while I was on board that aircraft alone, heading straight into crisis, Mother Nature's disaster. And that was very, very informing. So when I arrived at Dominica and got off the aircraft, I could literally see the extent of the devastation that came with the hurricane. It was clear, in terms of, trees being uprooted, buildings distracted, roads, split into two. I mean, yeah, those things were very much obvious, and it was so much that you couldn't take your eyes off them. So the moment that sort of hit me most was when we were driving from the airport to where we were going to stay. I looked at the driver's face and I looked at other people in the bus that I took. But I saw a sense of hope, a sense of duty, and a sense of we are all in this all together. So that was something that sort of stuck with me. Because local responders met us with determination in their eyes, ready to build even before the disaster was cleared. So that was pretty much the level of readiness and the level of preparedness, and also the hope that you could see in their eyes was strong, honestly, I must say. So a couple of lessons that I picked up from that journey that I want to share with you today. The first one is purpose will take you places that are not comfortable, but you have to, because of the purpose that you've signed up, or your purpose of what you've signed up for. And remember that loneliness, it's a time that you have to reflect. In my case, that lonely flight was a powerful reminder, okay, that service calls you into uncomfortable situations, or sometimes unpredictable ones, and sometimes even frightening and life threatening. But because of your purpose, you need to sort of do what is right and stay the course. The other lesson that it taught me was leadership sometimes happens in isolation. So when I was on the aircraft alone, with the air hostess and the pilot, I kept reflecting, in terms of being alone. What does that mean to me? I did not have any distractions from any other person, but I took that moment to sort of do deep thinking regarding my decision making, and in terms of how I was going to contribute to making a difference in the life of people in Dominica. So that quiet moment on the aircraft revealed my true strength in terms of, oh, David, you can do this. You can be part of this recovery process or disaster assessment process and make a difference in people's lives. The third lesson that I picked up, or disaster exposes our vulnerability as humans. Hurricane Maria did not actually discriminate. It did not actually say that, no, I'll hit a poor neighborhood, I'll hit a rich neighborhood. Nothing of those sorts. It sort of went through its part, did what it got to do, and left all the damage. So it's important that we know that this world is fragile and we need to deeply, connect with each other. We shouldn't treat one community different from the other. Matter of fact, Dominica is a small country, but then when this hurricane happened, a lot of government agencies came to its aid, just like the other countries within the Caribbean region that were heavily hit by Hurricane Maria. The fourth lesson that I learned from this experience is courage means consistency. In situations of disaster, it is not about being heroic or being a hero or creating drama or attention or whatever it is. It's just about being willing to show up consistently and then making a difference or contribute to making a difference in people's life. Because when things happens like this, people need help. Some even just need to have a simple conversation and tell you their experience. So it is just showing up, willing to show up, and be prepared to help others go through the difficult situations. The fifth lesson that I learned from this experience is even during disaster or even during distractions, we have hope. Hope survives, In my previous podcast, I talked about when humans, we stop hoping, then we stop living. So no matter what situation you find yourself, whether if it's a hurricane, it's a financial situation, it's a job loss, whatever it is, just remember that hope survives. Because don't ever lose hope. Because hope will always survive. You will go through the storm, you will go through the distraction and get to the other side. So have that spirit and make sure it is unbreakable. Okay? So that's what the Hurricane Maria experience taught me. And I could see it in all the responders' faces that no, we are in this, we will get through this, and we will live better. So that was something that came to me throughout my whole stay in Dominica as part of my contribution to the response. So this flight that I took that I was alone meant a lot to me because it was just not an accident. It actually gave me, to think, and I consider it as a moment of clarity. It gave me a moment to reflect how clear my purpose is in life. And so that's a very important thing, and also how important that the world or communities get to support each other in times of crisis, like what Hurricane Maria did to Dominica and other countries as well. And so when crisis hit, you won't, as human, the instinct is probably to move away. But in this particular instant taught me that when crisis hit and and your purpose is aligned with it, you move towards the crisis to see how best you can help people get through it. So that's a very important reminder for me as part of the lessons that I picked. So this is an experience that has lived with me all this while, and I hope this will inspire someone. It also reminded me that our lives matter most when we lift up others. So when you give a hand to others, or when you lift up others, you also get lift up, all of you. So make sure we provide. That has been a major lesson throughout this whole experience that I picked up. So yeah, these are the 5 lessons that I learned being on a flight alone from someone to Dominica. I hope this will inspire you. Thank you so much for joining me on this personal episode of Small Insight, Big Impact. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs courage today. Don't forget to like or comment and subscribe to get more of my episodes. So to ask you a question, what is the most meaningful journey that you've ever taken? Well, just drop a comment and we'll chat about it. Until next time, remember, small insight can create big impact, especially during times of crisis. Bye-bye.